We live and struggle in a world where common copper has become a freaking noble metal, something that takes a serious amount of bucks to procure nowadays. We also live in a world where stupidity and ignorance and blindness are encouraged instead of intelligence, instead of reasoning, instead of simple reasoning and logic and rationality and common sense. We live in a world in which we have to almost resort to cannibalism just to make ends meet. That goes to show you there is pretty much no incentives whatsoever to simply exist. In the event I could choose where I could choose to, where I could choose in between heaven and non-existence, I would rather choose non-existence without hesitating. Since we live in such an anarchy and complete and utter chaos, a state of complete and utter chaos and arbitrary imposition of unsolicited advice, wills, and blah blah blah, you name it. Everywhere I look, everywhere I see corruption, ruthlessness, and greed. But I've also come to realization that I don't need as much food as my body, my corporeal form constantly signals me that I should have that beg your pardon. Well, while you try to rebuke me, with other sort of copes or incentives in life that you find comforting or incentivizing such as food, blah blah blah, food, sex, blah blah blah. Also consider this: for each gram or each milligram of food you find tasty, that you ingest, pretty much 80, or I should say around 60 to 90% of those food that you ingest, it will get ejected by your body as waste in the form of feces. So so the food you ingest does not really belong to you, no matter how much you eat, or how much you choose to indulge in. So there is really utterly no incentives whatsoever to exist. But though you may see this video as a sort of a propaganda, or a or a video featuring mainly venting, moaning, and complaining, well, I don't care. So long as I get my messages across, so long as I get something off my chest, something that needs to be said off my chest, I don't care whether you like it or not. And certainly, I came here mostly. I came here to make this video and to make my future videos mostly for myself, not you. Let's get this message straight. Let's get it straight. I am not here for you. I am here for me, myself, mostly, at least. And that's all. That's everyone else is doing out there. That's what everyone else is doing out there, and you have, and hence you have absolutely no reason to do otherwise. I beg your pardon in case I got kind of awkward or rusty with my speech, since it's been more than a week since my previous video. So, but in any regards, just so you know that, the misery, the amount of misery will always outweigh, well, the amount of misery of doing how should I put it? The amount of misery that associated with something you did in the past that did not yield much fruit will how should I put it? The amount of the amount of misery that you fail to do something, um, and that you actually considered doing will always outweigh the amount, you know, will always outweigh the the amount of pain or so-called regret that you did, that's associated with something you did anyway, yet did not yield much fruit or result um, that seem ideal to you. I hope you catch my drift, but and that's an example. I went to Hong Kong in October year 2025 for a coin show, for a numismatics event. Despite the amount of hard work, the amount of trouble and inconvenience I had to endure and experience, and of course the amount of money I had to spend. I had to pay for for the two ways trips and accommodation and food and blah blah blah. I do not regret that I launched such mission, despite the fact that it did not make me pretty much any amount of money. Pretty much it yielded pretty much no financial gain whatsoever, except except maybe 15 to 20 quid I received from one of you guys as a gesture of patronage and goodwill. But for that I remain forever grateful, despite the fact that I'm still starving. But nevertheless, I do not regret that I had to do that. That I did something physical and tangible in order to change my life for the better. Though it, though the amount of reward or incentives I got, seems rather minuscule, to say the least. I do not regret it a single bit, and neither should you. Say in similar scenarios, you did say you tried hard and you've got you tried hard to achieve a certain outcome or a certain goal. You tried very hard, and yet you received you got little to no rewards. Even even in case of that, in case you didn't receive much rewards or benefits, as a result of your tremendous amount of input of hard work, you have nothing to regret. You have nothing to regret about. I want you guys to know that you have nothing to regret about, even if you didn't, even if you failed to achieve your desired outcome. Since reason number one, a lot of say whether you achieve a certain goal or not depends largely on loads of factors, say luck, your mental, say your mind state back then, or your physical state back then. Since you don't have a say to say to your mind state or physical state back then. Though yes, damn, how should I put it? Say luck. The amount of money you possess, and the connections you have, so that you can apply a bit of so that you can apply some people skills and enjoy some benefits of nepotism or whatnot. But in my case, I don't really have many strings to pull to achieve the most ideal outcome for myself. But nevertheless, yeah, how should I put it? There isn't really much, like I said, incentives to exist. Though the only incentive to continue existing and not commit suicide is to have your revenge against this cruel and harsh reality by going your own way, and enjoy your own, enjoy the views, the sceneries, the show you create for yourself. Instead of following society's scripts, instead of conforming to the propaganda, the indoctrination, the programming others try to inject into you. In other words, do whatever it takes, so they can't get their own, so they can't get their way, but instead you go your own way as much as you can make it so. And yeah, just bear this in mind. Whatever whatever cope, or whatever sort of entertainment you have, it almost always comes at a cost. Though cost can be big or small, or can be minuscule, or can be something as negligible as a couple of minutes, or several, or 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, blah blah blah. But just I want you guys to know that your suicidal thoughts are justified. Your grievances are mostly justified. Your intrusive thoughts are also justified. Though by having those thoughts shackled, you can become your own hero. You can become and remain honorable, and achieve greatness by transmuting your anger, your frustration, your rage, and the temptation to self terminate into something that you can kind of say, show for later, either to yourself or to the rest of the world, blah blah blah, whichever whichever methods that floats your boat or suits your own agenda, whatever, it's really none of my concern to dictate how you want to live your lives, or how you wish to go your own way, blah blah blah. But on the other hand, in case you have made this far in this video, I salute you, and you can say that this video is more or less for you, is made more or less for you, in the event you have made this far in this video until now. Yeah. So, and what else have I forgot to mention? Yeah. Just be just make yourself something like a Google, a like a a Google on frenzy mode. Whenever you do something you believe you ought to do. Otherwise, the regrets and the misery that that might come later will follow you for the rest of your life. You must have that kind of mindset in order to pull yourself out of the state of misery as you are currently stranded in. Well, at least at least in my case, such statement holds true. And not to mention that nobody cares about your beliefs. Nobody cares what you say. Nobody cares whether you live or you die. So why not give it all? Why not go all in when you can? Yeah, I believe I have talked quite enough, and as I'm already spitting a bunch of mumbo jumbles at this point. So thank you so much for coming and making this far during this filming session, and take care. Stay out of trouble and stay far from weak. Bye.